Spanning 9 seasons over almost 4 years, the World GT Championship on iRacing has provided racers and spectators with an ever-exciting spectacle. Whether it be in GTE or GT3 cars, we've had drama, controversy, heartbreak, elation, one-time winners, double champions, but most of all, epic racing throughout. Now the series turns another corner, and this phenomenal championship goes into double digits. Welcome everybody to the World GT Championship Season 10.
It's a new season of the World GT Championship here on RaceSpotTV, and well, one of the most exciting GT Championships that we show here on RaceSpot, and it is certainly a pleasure to bring you all the action here for the next 12 rounds of this series. It's Season 10, the 10th season of this championship, and it's a pleasure to bring it all to you here today. And my name is Paul Smith. Alongside me is Peter McKay, and well, Peter, it's your first time working on the series, but you'll have thrills and spoilers plenty.
Absolutely, yeah. Thoroughly looking forward to being involved with the World GT Championship, Paul, and I can see I'm disappointed actually at your choice of clothing tonight. You've gone for the Haas F1 team. I'm really disappointed it's not the Super Aguri. Will it be making an appearance throughout the season?
Wait and see, is all I'll say. But it's a new season, new 10 or 12 rounds of the championship, and some new faces in this championship as well. We've got some World Championship quality drivers, Jack Sedgwick, Josh Thompson, Phil Dennis, we've got Keika Schubert, BS Competition. They've brought a team along to the series. This championship just keeps on growing year after year.
That it does, yeah. And what amazed me as well is on the spotters guide, just the sheer number of entries as well, and all professional outfits as well. And what a place to start. Phillip Island is one of my absolute favourite circuits anywhere in the world. I'm a huge motorcycle racing fan, and Phillip Island and Aston are the two places in the world where there's nothing better. But for GT cars, not something we get to see very much at all in the real world. So that's the beauty of sim. We can have that combination.
Absolutely. Well, here's how the championship works out here then. So we've got 4 sprint events, which are 3 20-minute races. That's what we've got for you here today, with races 2 and 3 having a spinny wheel to decide the grid for the inverted grids for races 2 and 3. You have 4 feature events, which is 2 40-minute races with a mandatory pit stop in those. And again, race 2, we spin a wheel and decide what is the inverted number on the grid. And then 4 endurance events. That's 1 hour 45 minutes of racing with 2 mandatory pit stops in those events. And the feature events and the endurance events have really added to this championship, because at the beginning of its history it used to be just sprint races here in this championship. And well, we've talked about it being a 12-week series. Let's have a look at the schedule for you here today. So Phillip Island then is where we are bringing you the opening round of this championship. We then head across to Road Atlanta in Georgia for round number 2 with one of the feature events. And the first of our endurance races is around the Grand Prix circuit at Silverstone. We then head on over to the Red Bull Ring in Austria for round number 4 with 3 sprint races, should I say. Round 5 then Hockenheim for 2 feature races, and then Spa with the second of our endurance races. Then a bit of a switch around in how the season runs. We've then got Belle Isle. What a track that is going to be for an endurance race. Brands Hatch GP for feature event, and Motegi GP for the sprint rounds. And then finally, the final 3 rounds of the championship, Suzuka back on the calendar after a few seasons out. Sebring, always a classic. And then to finish off, 3 20-minute sprint races around Monza. That is going to be an absolutely epic way to finish off the season on the 1st of November. But it is a GT3 series here, Peter. We've got about just under 2 minutes of qualifying remaining for the drivers out there. What are you looking forward to in this season? What are you thinking is going to be some of the key things as we look actually at the track map of this opening round?
Well, I think the key thing is of course, we're in a balance of performance formula in GT3. So we've got different types of vehicle available. We've got the Porsche 911 GT3R, you've got the BMW M4, you've got the Lamborghini Huracan, and many others. And making that choice of choosing the right vehicle that's going to suit the wide variety of circuits that you just mentioned is really, really important. In a balance of performance formula, the idea is to get every car as close in performance as possible. But as we know, it's never an exact science, is it?
It's certainly not, no. And we've got a choice of 8 cars to run in this season. The majority of the field seem to have split between the Porsche, between the BMW. There's quite a few Mercedes involved in this season as well, and it's certainly been a good split of the drivers, what they've chosen in terms of the cars. In fact, I can tell you the exact split here. We've got 1 Ferrari, there's a lone Ferrari out there, there's 15 Mercedes, 17 Lamborghinis, 11 BMWs and 16 Porsches. The brand new Porsche 911 GT3, which is new to the service on iRacing. So yeah, that's definitely going to be one to check out. In fact, there is one on screen right now. Kenneth Branson, who really took the season by storm when he joined halfway through last season in the World GT Championship. But we're getting towards the end of qualifying here, so we will be getting you your starting grid in just a couple of minutes time. In fact, a couple of seconds time, in fact, we will be getting you that starting grid up on screen. So for the first round of the championship, it's David Baker on pole position. Well, alongside him on row number 1 is Josh Thompson. Then it's Keika Schubert with Matt Turnbull on row number 2. Row 3 for Ross McFarlane and Nathan Lewis. Row number 4, then it is Phil Dennis. Alongside him is Kenneth Branson with row 5, Alex Nella and Oscar Kopa. Ash Sutton, the 2-time British Touring Car champion, is starting on row number 6 alongside Michael Evdoka. Then Elias Seppanen and Joel Evans, and Jesse Jones, Billy Fletcher, Andy Shield and Chris Wood. Of course, we've got a full pace lap here, so we can take our time. Andy Archer then in 19th. He's the first of the amateur drivers out there on track. He's in 19th alongside Pete Harrod on row number 10. Row 11 is Morgan Butler with Tim Perry, and row 12 is Lee Berridge and Jason Dilworth. Brian Loyens and Mike Horder, 25th, 26th, with Miguel Freitas and Adam Watson on 27th, 28th. 29th and 30th on the 15th row is Ben Gregory and Adam Gladden. Tony Draper and Ross Nicholson, then the next row with Chris Van Der Ness and JB Masida. Simon Field and Adam Hedgecock round out 36th. The grid keeps on coming here in this championship. Lars van Rijn then 37th ahead of Matt Woodhouse. The 20th row of the grid, Bradley Hulse and Ryan Hamilton, with Simon Underhill and Simon Neller. Max Wolf alongside him is Michael Blake with Toby Ward and Chris Byram. Tom Stevens and Lewis Archer then round out 48th, and we've still got some cars to go here, because in 49th is James Whitehouse with Paul Webster and Nicholas Salapoutis rounding out the back of your grid. 51 cars here on the grid, Peter. It's a heck of a sight to see down that start and finish straight. It's going to be such a tricky opening lap here, especially with turns 1 and 2, and then also down at the hairpin at Honda.
Yeah, so the Wayne Gardner Straight is a good job that it's a long straight to fit all these cars on, which is amazing to see so many entries and some real cream of the sim racing crop at the front. Guys like Phil Dennis, what a driver he is. Kei Kashubi as well, who dominated the iRacing IMSA Challenge at the end of last year, and brilliant to see so many top names in there as well. Williams Esports, Pure Sims, BS Competitions as well, and of course Ash Sutton, a real world driver with quite some pedigree behind him. 2 British Touring Car Championships, as you mentioned, in fact reigning British Touring Car Champion at the wheel of an Infinity. It is rear-wheel drive, so there is a bit of a transfer there, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I used to be a teammate of David Baker, and I was actually in a practice session on Friday night when he was in. And because I wanted to see how the cars felt around here, and I realised that I was 1/10 off of being the slowest driver. But I was speaking to David, and I was saying that how I'd lost all my pace in the GT3 cars, and he went, "Oh yeah, me too as well." David, I don't think you were being completely honest with me here there, because you're on pole position for the opening round of the championship. It's great to see him up there, because he's Mr. Consistency in a championship, and when he's really able to put his mind to it, he can do well. So keep an eye out for him. But Josh Thompson, Kei Kashuba, I mean, that's 2 drivers that are world championship quality. They're right there gunning for him, and you get such a slipstream, especially out that final corner around here.
That you do. It's very important to get the exit out of turn 12 for the run down towards Doohan Corner, and I think there isn't we see corners named after all kinds of drivers and places, but Mick Doohan, you could not have picked a better corner for him than turn 1, because Mick Doohan was just probably the bravest man ever to walk the planet, one of the best motorcycle racers ever, in some people's view the best motorcycle racer of all time, and getting that turn 1 right, it is a real deep breath, and you've got to throw the car in. But these GT3 cars, they've got such good aero that they'll be fine, I'm sure. Well,
David Baker has made the jump early out the final corner. Kashuba is partly sideways. He was almost turned around by Matt Turnbull, but the opening round of Season 10 of the World GT Championship is underway, and it is David Baker. What a jump off the start. Caught Josh Thompson and Kei Kashuba off by napping there, really, as they head on through Doohan Corner for the first time. Look at the size of the field as they're working their way through. Can we get everyone around here? This is a tricky corner, turn 2. You need to carry the speed through there, down the inside to get the run out of the corner, through turn 3 at Stoner Corner, and then down to Honda Corner for the first time. A tight hairpin. One of your overtaking opportunities down into Honda, but you look at this field just rushing through that camera shot there. But right now Kashuba is on the back. Oh, we've got a spinner around, and that is Billy Fletcher. He's around in that Luxim 24 car. Collected somebody else with him, but able to keep out the way, so no track blockage. We're able to carry on there. But when you've got a field this size, when you end up with that concertina effect, Peter, down into the hairpin, you can sometimes just get that little touch.
Oh, indeed. I think it's almost, it's very much understandable. It's almost inevitable, actually, that you are going to have a little bit of of tipping and tapping as we go through. But I think all told, for it's nearly 60-car field, I think that was a fantastic start. What got me there was how early David Baker hit the gas. I actually didn't think you're allowed to go that early. Whoa!
Oh, we've got a car off at the back there.
Oh dear!
At the exit of turn 1, that's one of the boosted cars. It's a Lamborghini boosted car. He is facing the wrong way. That's Alex Nella. He's hit that wall hard. There is a fast repair in this series, if I remember my rule book correctly. So that means that he can get that car repaired and back out there. But that is a huge incident on the end of lap 1. But Josh Thompson has made it to the head of the field there. Used the slipstream down the Gardner Straight into Dewar Corner, and that has got him to the head of the field. But David Baker, he won't be too bad because he'll be sat behind. He'll get the slipstream next time by, so we could see a little bit of peloton action, I do believe. Here's a replay of what happened. It was Andy Shield, series admin Andy Shield, turning Billy Fletcher around there.
Dear, the big nose. I suppose the one thing you could give Andy Shield the benefit of the doubt is the bonnet is incredibly long on that big 6.2 litre Mercedes. Clutch! Big twitch there for one of the BS competition machines. I think it was Nathan Lewis, and that allows Ash Sutton through. Good start from Sutton in the 116 car, up into 7th place. Next up for him is Phil Dennis, I should say, in the number 98 machine. Phil, a very good racer in the real world and indeed here in the sim as well.
Certainly is. We've got some pedigree on this championship, that's for sure. The Mercedes ducking left, ducking right, trying to get past Kenneth Gould-Branson with the fastest lap so far in this race to go through the fast sweeping right-hander. And it is Michael Evdurka looking to the inside. He's got the inside now, and Seppinen, the teammate of Lewis, trying to make it past both of them there. Elias Seppinen, what an opportunistic move there. They're still side by side as they head on through Stoner Corner once again. But we've got 2x2 into the Honda hairpin. What's going to happen? The Lewis was just a little bit wide there. I think there's a little bit of contact on the back of Jesse Jones' car. And well, somehow we all managed to carry on and keep going. There's a Team Mad car going off that's Siberia. I think that was Chris Wood. It certainly was.
Yeah, it's very, very tight there going through Stoner Corner. Very, very fast left-hander. Then you've got to get on the brakes. Now, of course, these GT3 specification machines do have the luxury of anti-lock braking systems, so if we were in the GTE specification, you would get a lot of drivers locking up there while still with a bit of steering lock on, and that's where accidents can happen very quickly. But the anti-lock braking system, very welcome there, particularly going into Honda. However, if you get too hard into the ABS system, some drivers will turn it down quite a lot. But if you get too hard into that system, it's got a driver straight exit left in one of the BMWs. But yes, a lot of the drivers will turn it down a bit, because if you get into the ABS too hard, then you don't have quite the same braking performance. Looks like it was Tim Perry, Paul.
Yeah, it does look like it was him. As we've got a car off, that's one of the Pure Sim Labs car. That's Michael Evdurka. So he was in 9th place, as you can see on his windscreen with the position number. But he's getting back up to speed now. That was rather an acute angle that he was going off at turn 2 there. So something tells me that either he touched the grass, the entry to turn 2, or there was a little bit of contact. Let's see. This is with Elias Seppinen then. Round turn 1. Oh yeah, that BMW just drifts out, doesn't it, Peter?
Yeah, the classic Phillip Island doing corner. That's just good fortune. Oh my word.
Yeah, and you could see though that his foot was absolutely planted on the brakes. The brake lights were on all the way around through the grass there, so there was very little that he could do there.
Oh, indeed, yes. And that's the thing, is if you go around the outside at turn 1 at Doohan Corner, you were really taking a big chance. And exactly what happened there, it just takes a driver on the inside, in that case Seppinen, to just, not even a mistake, just to run that little bit wide. You're trying to carry so much speed. And
that's Evdurka again.
Off again. Oh dear.
So something's happened. Yeah, he's not having the bestest times down at MG there. He's got it back out of the grass. and he's getting back up to speed, but that you can see the damage on the front of his car, so something has happened there, and he's run wide. That is so easy to do at Lukey Axon again. How has he done that 2 times in a lap?
Oh, going back, I'm putting number 989 on my lottery numbers. Dear me. Well, still Kenneth Gulbranson, the fastest lap of the race. He's the top Porsche. Interestingly, the Porsche very, very good out of slow corners. Of course, that 4-litre flat 6 motor hanging out over the rear wheels gives it a great advantage out of slow corners. But in the medium speeds, which is really what this track is all about, and medium to high speed at Phillip Island, this, for me, I think this is Lamborghini country, this circuit, Paul.
Well, it's a BMW that leads, though, with Josh Thompson, David Baker right on his coattails in second place, with Matt Turnbull in third. Here's a view of what's happened to Ben Gregory. There's a Century Sim Racing car going down the inside there. Oh, a little bit of a hip check. That was a bit rude. And around he goes, does Gregory, but he'll recover himself back out there on track in the boosted Jericho car. And up and running he goes. So he'll carry on. Ben Gregory's dropped down to 35th in the order through the opening of this race. I can tell you some of the biggest movers in your field here so far. We've got Matt Woodhouse in 25th, has gained 13 positions. Max Wolf as well has gained 12, and James Whitehouse, the Century Sim Racing as well, 13 positions gained for him. So some big movers in this opening race here. We're almost at the halfway point of this opening race here, Peter. I always expected there to be plenty of action with a 20-minute sprint race, and we've got 2 more races of this to go yet.
We're going to be spoiled, aren't we, here in the World GT Championship. Ash Sutton, good start so far, can't quite find a way past on Phil Dennis. That will be a big ask, I can assure you. Phil is one of the fastest racers in the world in the virtual sphere, and really carries over his real-world experience very, very well. It's brilliant to have some sponsors that we see in real-world motorsport as well. Of course, 3M are a very premium manufacturer of race suits and safety gear when you're in your race car. And at the moment, Paul, I wouldn't mind having a 3M suit to keep cool under pressure in these hot conditions.
Well, I can tell you that out there on track, the air temperature is only about 18 degrees, but the track temperature is almost at 32 degrees out there. They've got clear skies, so towards the end of the race, I mean, these cars and tyres are built for endurance racing. However, with how hard that they push these cars in this series, you will get a little bit of drop-off happening, as we've got a bit of side-by-side action further down. This is for 16th and 17th, is it? Or 17th, 18th? I can't tell here. Adam Watson, 18th. There we go. He's just dropped down a position. He lost that position to Mike Horder, who's just ahead of him. So Adam down positions there, and Tom Stevens in that Evo SR car. Well, there was a car off as well. There was another car off at that hairpin there down at turn 10, but Tom just immediately on it, reversing. Let's get going again.
Oh, that's so scary down there, because if you just put a wheel on the grass there going over Lukey Heights, very, very easy to, if you get a wheel on the grass, then you really are a passenger, and you almost take off actually, because the drop off is so steep. We see that a lot of the time in the motorcycle world, where they'll go on the left-hand side of the tyre and then flick to the right, and the tyre's cold and down they go. Oh, James Whitehouse off in the Century Sim Esports Mercedes. Dear me, what's happened there? Oh, it looks like he's got some help by the looks of things. Oh,
that's a bit of an ambitious move there, I feel, there from that Craig setup shop car.
Yes, you could feel the. I didn't quite catch the number on that car, but you could feel them. You could almost hear them shouting, "Stop! Stop! Stop!"
Yeah, pushing the brake pedal through the bulkhead, I think, is what was happening right there. But
what's pulling the handbrake as well?
Yes, absolutely. What's happening up at the front of the field is actually 4 cars together. Oh, Sutton and Dennis, they've got together there on the exit of turn 2. That's going to allow Lewis then to go back past Dennis, and Nathan Lewis up to 7th place. Well, that was a bit of a quick change up there, so something's happened with Sutton and Dennis, and Phil Dennis is now just dropping down the order slightly, because that is Sepinen making his way past as well. So here we go, here's a replay, Peter.
Pretty cut and shut there. Sutton goes for a gap that's not there. I would imagine Phil Dennis will be pretty angry about that one, to be perfectly fair. It looked like that was at the Southern Loop, which is pretty quick there as well, but Sutton just, there just wasn't a move there in my book.
Well, the problem with the Southern Loop is that if you V off the corner, it looks like there's a gap there, but then the line is going to come back in to the nose of the Lamborghini, and that's what appears to have happened right there. We've got battling for 28th. It's worth pointing out, as we are past the halfway point of the race, it's Thompson, Baker and Turnbull which are the top three in the standings. Jason Dilworth, correction, it's Joel Evans in 11th place, who's your best Pro-Am, with Jason Dilworth in 16th and Mike Horder 17th for Pro-Am. And the best AM driver out there at the moment is Tony Draper with Lee Berridge right behind him in that. And then you've got to go down to 28th with Bradley Hulse there in the Year 1 car. He is further down. James Whitehouse has taken to the pits, as has JB Maceda as well. So there's enough for Team Madcar, and that's Miguel Freitas around in the kitty litter down at the Southern Loop. The Southern Loop causing a lot of problems for these drivers today.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? The Southern Loop, always a great overtaking opportunity if you're on two wheels, not so much on four. And yeah, Miguel just pulling up by just a little bit too much corner speed, but it's hard to describe just how much momentum the car is carrying when you come into the opening section, doing corner, the very fast, almost top, I think it'll be just one down from top gear going into doing, and then hard on the brakes into Southern Loop. You're still carrying more speed than you expect, and you're desperately trying not to scrub it off as you head down towards Casey Stoner corner.
Well, here's Joel Evans then, the Pro-Am driver, the top place Pro-Am driver. You can tell that by the different coloured number on our graphics with the sort of yellowy highlight to that. I'd say more golden, actually. Let's say golden highlight to that. The Pro drivers have the green numbers, and the AM drivers have more of a sort of, it's not quite maroon, but it's like a pastel red, something like that. Hugo, our producer, has put together these graphics, so that way you can just see at a glance as to who is and in which category as well. We've even put the Pro-Am and AM up on the timing tower on the left-hand side. More action, this time Adam Watson! Oh my goodness, that's a hip check and a half. That's up at Lukey Heights.
Well, they do like barbecue in this part of the world, but that was a T-bone steak there for Adam Watson. That must have given him quite a fright, actually. I mean, dear. Well, driver in question seemed to come out of nowhere as well. Didn't actually catch who the punter was there.
Just looking at my timing, I can't really pick out who it was either on my timing. By the way, Evans now, the top Pro-Am driver, Joel Evans, having a tremendous opening race here, up into 10th place now. He's just got himself ahead of Oscar Cooper in the RSR Esports by G Performance car, so that's down to 11th place with Ross McFarlane right behind them in 12th. We've got more cars off, and we've got, well, that's one of the Sim Races stickers cars, I do believe. Yeah, Sim stickers, sorry, I should say. Ross Nicholson, and it was one of the other Team Mad cars. Yeah, Matt Woodhouse, I believe, yeah.
Yeah, it was Mark Woodhouse. The ARL. Whoa,
oh my goodness!
Roadblock at turn 12. Oh my word!
And that's one of the Sim Lab cars. That's Michael Evdoka. He's had nothing but bad luck all evening here. Thankfully, this is sim race, and you can just hit escape and get yourself a tour back to the pit lane. But that is huge incident there. We'll have a look back at this, Peter.
Right, let's try and dissect it then and see. Oh, so it's the BMW. That's the name. One of the Craig Setup Shop cars actually sets off a chain reaction and it escapes the scene before all hell breaks loose. Yeah,
that was a bit rude, but I'm sure that the stewards will look at that. Of course, there are stewards post-event, so all the results that we see here today will be provisional. During the week, the stewards will get together and decide if any penalties are appropriate. in any of these events. Oh, and it's Morgan Butler. So here he is. He gets caught up by how slow that Porsche is. Of course, that Porsche has to go a little bit slower there because it was on the tighter line.
Yeah, if you're the following car, you've got to be ready for these sorts of things. However, normally it's incredible the slow corners. Oh, spin for is that Perry?
I thought it was Gregory again. It is Gregory again.
Good spot.
Well, there's a few drivers not having a good day out there. Michael Avdoka one, Ben Gregory's another. As Evans is now dropping down the order as well. So as Joel Evans, he was the Pro-Am leader. He's not the Pro-Am leader anymore. Number 724, he's dropped down the order, and we'll see what's happened here then. This is into turn 2. Oh, is it going to be a bit ambitious? Now. Was there's just the slightest of contact there?
Yes, there was. Yeah. Oh dear, that's so frustrating as well, because it didn't take much of a tap from behind, and round he went. Oh, one of the BS competition cars off. That's Elias Sepinen. It's been a bruising encounter so far for him, Paul.
Well, it's all going from bad to worse. Oh, and it's Ash Sutton. Oh, well. Sutton, he's hit one car out the way, which was Dennis. Now he's hit Sepinen out the way. So I think they'll be thinking, what have we done wrong here today? But that's Sutton maybe taking that touring car approach a bit too extreme here in the World GT Championship. But as I say, they do have Rick Stewart in post-event. So don't think that anything like that we see today will not go unpunished. That's for sure. We're coming up to 2 minutes remaining here, so we're going to be on about another lap and a half to go in this race, Peter. It's absolutely flown by us, this one, and David Baker is still on the tail of Josh Thompson at the front of your field.
Yeah, it's been a great drive from the marvellous Manxman, Josh Thompson. Very, very impressive indeed, just holding a 0.3 of a second advantage from David Baker in the Craig Setup Shop Lamborghini. And is really being able to hold that advantage despite the pressure all the way through, and Tate will take an early lead as Bradley Hull's off as well. This is Phillip Island, Paul. It is not an easy racetrack. It's one of the most exciting racetracks anywhere in the world to drive, and but for that measure, if you get it wrong, there are no small mistakes here at Phillip Island.
Well, I can tell, you can see on your timing screen on the left-hand side there, David Baker in his Lamborghini has got to the head of the field. There's going to be 1 lap remaining here. Now, as Josh Thompson pulled off a 200 IQ move here, has he allowed Thompson? Well, no, he didn't allow him to go past, actually. He was wanting to close the door. But I was thinking, was he trying to get the slipstream down the start and finish straight into Durham corner? The answer is he's not got it yet, but he's got another slipstreaming opportunity out of turn 2, through Stoner corner, down into Honda corner here, Peter.
So right when it matters on the last lap, then David Baker hits the front. Can Josh Thompson get it back? Well, this is the opportunity. He's on the flashing lights. Wouldn't be a BMW otherwise. Round through Stoner corner, and he's too far back. David Baker has really got the move on here. Was he holding something in reserve maybe? Don't know. But meanwhile, Kashubi and Turnbull going side by side as well as they head into a hay shed. Oh, dear me. Sorry, Siberia, my apologies. Then up to the hay shed and one ahead. But David Baker, well, I thought he had this, maybe just had a couple of car lengths in hand, but Thompson's going to have another go at him, maybe into Lukey Heights possibly.
Well, we'll have to wait and see, but this is the final lap then. So Baker at the front, down the hill into the hairpin. This is where he got the lead on the previous lap. He's just got to hold on to this one for 2 more corners here. But Craig Williams, I can almost sense him. He'll be loving this. The Craig Setup Shop car at the head of your field. But do not count Josh Thompson out here. He needs a good run out the final corner. Use the slipstream as much as possible. We could almost be at a photo finish across the line. But it is going to be Baker who wins this one by 0.08 of a second over Josh Thompson. My goodness, Keiko Sherbet, great debut in the series to finish in 3rd place. You've got more battling down your field. Mike Horder is going to come across the line as your top Pro-Am driver up there in 14th place. And then in the amateurs, it's Tony Draper, 17th place, your top amateur driver here today. Well, I mean, Peter, we've still got drivers battling all the way to the line, all the way down the field. But what a dramatic opening round of the championship this has been.
Brilliant stuff there from David Baker, I have to say, to just pick Josh Thompson's pocket just at the right moment. Not easy to do. And I have to say, Paul, I did think that maybe Josh Thompson might have had a good run to the line there with the superior straight line grunt of the BMW, but David Baker able to carry enough corner speed coming out of the final corner to hold onto it. But if that is a taste of what we can expect throughout this season, we're going to be spoiled throughout the next 12 weeks. And well, reverse grid coming up. This is going to be a little bit even more spicy coming up.
Well, there you go. There's your provisional results for the opening round of the Season 10 of the World GT Championship. David Baker then, with the Pure Sims and Craig set-up shop car, leading that one, but as I said, by 8/100ths of a second ahead of Josh Thompson, with the 3M by Williams Inex BS Racing. Then BS Competition in 3rd place with Keiko Sherbet, with Matt Turnbull only just finishing in 4th place. Kenneth Branson should have a good showing out there in 5th place ahead of Nathan Lewis. Phil Dennis then able to get some places back into 7th place ahead of Ross McFarlane. Oscar Cooper and Jesse Jones rounding out your top 10. Chris Wood then 11th for Team Mad ahead of Pete Harrod, with Ash Sutton falling down to 13th in the end there. The top of your Pro-Ams, your podium of your Pro-Ams all together there. 14th for Mike Horder with Tim Perry in 15th, and 16th place for Jason Dilworth. Then 17th for the top amateur driver, Tony Draper, 17th ahead of Lee Berridge in 18th, also an amateur driver for him. Chris Van der Ness in 19th ahead of Elias Sepinen, who dropped down the order after an incident in 20th place. Adam Hedgecock then and Simon Field together 21st, 22nd. Andy Archer was the 3rd place of the amateur drivers in 23rd. Lars Van Rijn, Max Wolf, Ben Gregory, Adam Gladden, new to the series, along with Joel Evans. Joel Evans, who led the Pro-Am standings for quite a while, down there in 28th in the end, with Michael Blake and Morgan Butler in 30th place. Got enough for 2 pages of this yet. Bradley Hulse then, I saw him in the kitty litter at turn 2 in 31st then. Matt Woodhouse 32nd ahead of Alex Neller. Andy Shield and Miguel Freitas. Basically everybody involved down here were involved in some form of incident. Chris Byram, Simon Neller, Adam Watson, Paul Webster and Ryan Hamilton rounding out 40th place. Lewis Archer with Simon Underhill, Ross Nicholson, Billy Fletcher, Tom Stevens, Brian Loyens, Nicholas Salaputis with Toby Ward, Michael Evdoko we saw upside down, JB Masida and James Whitehouse. All 4 of those at the back did not finish the race, so will not be eligible for a potential full reverse grid, which we will be drawing here on the broadcast momentarily here, but you hit the nail on the head, Peter. It was a tremendous drive from David Baker, bided his time in 2nd place, and then was able to get Josh Thompson right at the end for the lead.
Yeah, David Baker really played that one perfectly, because he used his machine to its advantage. Each machine has its own, should we say, attributes, which are, they make up their lap time in different ways. Of course, as we saw in qualifying, I think 1/10 of a second covering the top 6 or 7 drivers, so they're all right there, but it's how you use it, But I think Josh Thompson will be pretty disappointed though, because he led for most of the way, and he maybe thought that he had that one under control, but it's going to be a long season.
Absolutely. So hopefully we can bring you the spinning wheel. Here we go then to see who is going to be on pole position. And well, Hugo, I will ask you to press the button. There we go. So if it lands on the logo of the series, that means that we have a full reverse grid. We're not going to quite have that. Are we going to have a relatively small reverse? It's still moving. It's going to stop at number 20. So 20th place is going to be Elias Seppänen. Well, he was further up the field in all of this. Did drop down a few places in the end, but finds himself on the front row of the grid, Peter.
Interesting. That's the lowest number we could have had there on the spinning wheel. And I was just having a look there at some of the comments from our viewers tonight on RaceSpotTV. Great to have you all with us. Brilliant viewing figures tonight as well. Thank you so much. Lots of comments about, oh my word, what's it going to be like when we get to reverse grid? I think certainly some of the front-running drivers will be quite glad that that's only a 20-place reverse grid rather than a complete reverse of 51.
Yeah, they certainly will. It's certainly what will help them with that. It gives them a few less drivers to have to work their way through. Of course, the further up the field that they get in terms of those drivers, the harder it gets because they're all a bit quicker. But in this series, they're all pretty much an even sort of split of talent and speed out there. So definitely interested to see how he copes with that. Of course, alongside him, Chris van der Ness, a Pro-Am driver. That's going to be good for him. If he can hang on and not get involved in any silly incidents there, Peter, he can be on for some really good points because, of course, you don't have separate point systems for the Pro-Am and Am drivers. Whatever points you score in a race is what you take into your Pro-Am or Am championship.
So yeah, every place counts, absolutely. And I think what it also means is that over such a long season with so many races, everyone's going to have bad races, and it's how you limit the damage when that happens. We've seen a few drivers have off-track excursions so far in that opening race, but it's minimising the damage, not letting yourself get flustered. It's so easy for us to say up here in the commentary box because we've all been there, haven't we? You make a mistake and you're just furious, either with yourself or with the driver that might have been involved. So I think that's going to be the key difference, is the drivers that make the most of each race and maximise the race pace that they've got.
Of course, it's the first round for quite a few of these drivers out there, and they're maybe not used to doing sprint racing with GT3 cars. They will have done sprint racing with other cars like the MX-5 and TCR and things like that, but with GT3 cars, it's a bit of a different experience, and getting that experience in pack racing on a road course actually will benefit them in other forms of racing. It will benefit them in endurance racing or even in World Championship Series as well, if they do choose to try and qualify for those.
Yeah, and I think that GT3 is a category which it's been growing for such a long time, and it just continues to grow both in the real world but also in virtual, particularly iRacing. It seemed that GT3 was a little bit out of favour 12 months ago or so, but now it's completely turning around the other way, and I think the formula is just perfect. You've got exotic machinery. We all love a Lamborghini or a Ferrari or Porsche. And they've got traction control, they've got ABS, but they're not boring either. They're a wonderful balance, and for wheel-to-wheel racing, really, really good. And also it teaches you so many other things as well. Is that it teaches you how to be in the right position in a battle as well, and not to bite off more than you can chew. Because as we saw, if you do get it wrong in these cars, there's no small accidents in a GT3 car.
Well, we've seen it as well, not just with these cars, but the track itself. Of course, it's an old school track, is this. There's no vast swathes of asphalt runoff here. If you get a wheel off the track here, you are in the grass, in the gravel traps. Before you know it, you're heading towards a tyre barrier. So it really is an old school track that really rewards precision in a race like this, in a championship like this.
That it does, yeah. That, funny enough, we're not talking about track limits, are we? There's your solution. I mean, actually, Phillip Island, they do a great job to keep the car, keep the circuit safe, because it is just so fast, whether it be on 2 or 4 wheels. They actually had their first meeting here back in 1956. So they've been racing on Phillip Island for a long, long time, and actually Len Lukey owned the track from 1962 to 1978, so that's where the name Lukey Heights comes from.
Well, we are going to be stepping aside for just a moment or so here on the coverage, because we have got a second race coming up. We've got another race coming up after that. So make sure you stick around for those 2 races. So next race, race number 2, is going to be the first of our reverse grid races. 20th place is the reverse grid number. We'll get one more draw of the spinny wheel after the second race to decide who gets pole position that final one. And if it's a big number, well, it's get the popcorn out, because it'll be entertaining as heck. But make sure you stick around. Make sure you keep on this channel, because more action coming up to you from the World GT Championship Season 10 coming up.
Spanning 9 seasons over almost 4 years, the World GT Championship on iRacing has provided racers and spectators with an ever-exciting spectacle. Whether it be in GTE or GT3 cars, we've had drama, controversy, heartbreak, elation, one-time winners, double champions, but most of all, epic racing throughout. Now the series turns another corner, and this phenomenal championship goes into double digits. Welcome everybody to the World GT Championship Season 10.
Well, welcome back to coverage of the World GT Championship here on RaceSpotTV. Of course, the series brought to you by 3M, Pure Sims, and by Simortal. So make sure you check out their products that are available. Peter Mackay joining me here in the commentary box. My name is Paul Smith, and Peter, you were mentioning about the 3M products. I do actually have a pair of their gloves that I use for my sim racing, so you can rest assured that they make quality products. There you go, there's the plug for them. I'm sure they'll give me something for that.
You never know, you might get a pair of Paul Smith custom Super Aguri gloves. A Super Aguri throwback livery gloves. I'm sure 3M have got, out of their wonderful array of colour schemes, there's of course a majority of the British Touring Car Championship grid choose 3M for their what should we say, fire protection needs and race suit needs, and well, of course, also for displaying their sponsors as well. Very important part of the game. And of course, in the British Touring Car Championship, you need a suit that keeps you cool when the car, it's 60 degrees Celsius in the car, and keeps you warm when you're at October in Brands Hatch.
Absolutely you do. It's worth pointing out, thank you very much Bradley Hulls for pointing this out, he ran out of fuel coming out of the last corner on the last lap, so he needs to just add maybe a litre or two more of fuel into the car this time. But we've got about 2 minutes before the start of the second race. It's the first of our reverse grid races here today, and it's certainly one that we can look forward to, because we get to see those faster drivers having to work their way through the field here. Okay, it's not a full reverse grid, which I think quite a few of them are happy with, but it's not impossible to overtake around here, as we've seen, but it is quite tricky to do it, and to do it without making any contact.
That it is, and I think what I would say is that the sheer depth of top drivers here in the World GT Championship is going to make it really, really tough for those for those top guys coming through the field. They'll really have to be patient. 20 minutes might not sound much, but it's amazing how the field does shake out in a reverse grid over sort of 5 or 6 minutes or so. So yeah, the drivers will have to be really quite steady, take their time, and be ready to take avoiding action, because as we said, coming down into Honda Corner for the first time, there is almost not enough tarmac to fit all the cars as they come through.
Absolutely, it's certainly a tricky venue to get absolutely right here. And well, it's worth pointing out as well, if we do need it, the safety car can be called upon, which in a 20-minute sprint race like this will effectively half it down to a 10-minute race. So those drivers that were at the front of the field in race number 1 will be hoping that there isn't a track blockage and the need of a safety car.
I'd be very surprised if there was. I mean, we like we said, we don't normally talk about track limit abuse at Phillip Island, because it's all grass and gravel runoff, but usually what it does mean is that there is room for drivers to take, if they have to go across the grass to avoid an incident or to get round a small blockage, they can. So I reckon the first time we'll see the safety car will be at Belle Isle, because it's so narrow through there, and there are parts of the circuit where it really can clog up. Now forgive me, are we going to Long Beach? Sure we are.
No, it's Belle Isle that we're going to.
Just Belle Isle for the street circuit.
And I mean, I can't ever recall a long hour and 3/4 race around Belle Isle, so that's going to be intriguing, and that's going to be one where strategy is going to be key, because of course you are forced to take 2 pit stops in that race, so definitely going to be an interesting one. We are going to be getting the grid up just momentarily here before we carry on with our commentary here, and it is Elias Sepinen then pole position for BS competition, with Chris van der Nest sharing the front row of the grid. Lee Berridge and Tony Draper, 2 AM drivers, on the second row of the grid, ahead of Jason Dilworth and Tim Perry on row number 3. Row 4 then for Mike Horder and Ash Sutton, with Pete Harrod and Chris Wood rounding out row number 5. Row 6 shared by the teammates Jesse Jones and Oscar Koper. Row 7 then for Ross McFarlane with Phil Dennis in that row. Row 8 for Nathan Lewis and Kenneth Branson, with Matthew Turnbull and Keig Shubey in row number 9. Row 10 for the front 2 of race number 1, Josh Thompson and race 1 winner David Baker. Row 11 for Adam Hedgecock and Simon Field, with Andy Archer and Lars Van Rijn on row number 12. Row 13 for Max Wolf and Ben Gregory, Adam Gladden and Joel Evans on row number 14, with row 15 Michael Blake and Morgan Butler. Row 16 then Bradley Hulse and Mark Woodhouse, with Alex Nella and Andy Shield then on row I've completely lost count, so row 17, there we go, I've got it back. Row 18 for Miguel Freitas and Chris Byram. Row 19 then for Simon Nella and Adam Watson, with row 20 shared by Paul Webster and Lewis Archer. Row number 21, Simon Underhill and Ross Nicholson. We keep on going. Billy Fletcher and Tom Stevens then on the next row of the grid, with Ryan Hamilton and Brian Lyons. Nicholas Salaputis and Toby Ward, the first of the 2 drivers that were affected in race number 1, along with Michael Evdoka, JB Masida and James Whitehouse, rounding out your 51 car grid. I knew we'd get there eventually then, Peter, but well, we're looking forward to this one. Another 20 minutes of action here in the World GT Championship. It's the series that just keeps on giving us action, and well, these drivers do not disappoint, that's for sure. But it's great to see this field out here, Peter, and yeah, we were mentioning how it's a really diverse schedule to this championship. So we've got a fast-flowing circuit to start off with, but we've got some tight and twisty stuff later on in the season.
That we do, yeah. We've got some of my real favourites in there as well. Road Atlanta. I mean, GT cars around Road Atlanta, just fantastic. Oh, now problem here for Ash Sutton. Now, has he been? Would this be a penalty, Paul? Forgive my. No. Okay.
So he must be having some sort of problem out there that's meant that he's having to start from the pits here. So that's rather unusual then for Ash to be starting from the pit. So obviously, as I say, some form of problem there. But yeah, as I say, any penalties, the stewards, they look at things during the week. So there won't be any penalties coming today. So yeah, that's an unfortunate issue out there for Sutton. But we're almost ready for the start. Do you think Seppänen's got the opportunity from the front to pull away, or is somebody else going to come through, Peter?
I think so. I think he'll want to use the down low torque and grunt of that BMW to get the track position into the opening sector and then settle into rhythm. All of the BS competition guys are so fast. I think that's got to be the plan for Seppänen.
Well, he's made the launch once again, but the second row of the grid have got to be careful. They can't go past until they reach the line, the green flag. Barney, the flagman, will be waving that green flag. Away we go across the line. We've got a car in the wall at the back already. I think that's Morgan Butler who's found the wall. My goodness, we've not even made it to the first corner, and already drama at the start of this race. We've got more cars off at turn 1, the exit at turn 1, and that is the number 2 car. Well, he's not a good race at all. He's trying to keep out the way of it all. My goodness, well, Baker got caught up in all of that, but it was Nathan Lewis who went for a fair old tour across the countryside.
Yeah, there was just no way Nathan Lewis could get that BS competition BMW slowed down in time, but David Baker was the man who was so unlucky to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, and unfortunately had no way of avoiding Nathan Lewis. So a little bit of contact, there'll be a little bit of damage there, but also kills his momentum as well. So David Baker, a race 1 winner, in trouble as one of the Lamborghinis off already. So it is a reverse grid then in the very most traditional form. We're seeing cars firing off left, right and centre, but well, Josh Thompson, where's he got to? Because David Baker, his rival from race 1, is in trouble.
Yeah, it certainly is. Nathan Lewis is falling down even more positions now in your standings. In fact, it's taken a tour back to the pits. Actually, Sutton there. Is it the 116? It is. So it's not Oscar Cooper as the graphic says. That's Ashley Sutton. He's gone around. He started in the pit lane, and well, he's back out there, but he's down to the back of the field. We've got 2 cars on pit road. Nathan Lewis and also Ross Nicholson, Morgan Butler and Lars van Rijn, and a couple others are heading to pit road as well. Well, we said there was going to be drama in this race. There certainly has been so far, but it is Seppänen who leads this one ahead of Chris van der Ness, with Tony Draper in 3rd place then. So that's the front 3 as we're heading down towards the hairpin once again. And well, the Evo SR car in 2nd place, van der Ness doing a good job of staying there, but Tony Draper in the Century Sim Racing car is putting the pressure on here.
Yeah, the old Merc up for a fight here as well. The rumbling Mercedes AMG GT machine. Very, very cool car. Now let's see what happened to Sutton. He's going right hard around. Oh, he gets turned around. He gets nerfed. He goes going for the outside. And I think it was one of the Team Mad cars tangled to the side of Sutton's Lamborghini. And he tried to turn in and there was no room there. So a little bit unlucky there for Sutton. Now, I do know from a reliable source that Ash Sutton uses the sim to practice his overtaking for his real-world driving in the British Touring Car Championship. And the only thing, it's just a guess, Paul. It might be that he's started from pit lane on purpose and to get that overtaking practice, but it'd be quite an odd thing to do in a competitive environment.
No, he's a competitor. It will have been something that's happened, and he will want to win everything that he can. I used to be in his team as a driver for him, and I know that once it gets to the green light, the mist comes down, and he wants to win. That is all he knows. That's all he's programmed to do. Here's a replay of what happened to Nathan Lewis, and well, it's a miracle that wasn't any worse than it was. He managed to find some form of gap in the field, which you consider lap 1, turn 2, cold tyres for a lot of those drivers. That was a heck of a thing just to slot in like that.
That it was, yeah. Minimised the damage, I think you could say, absolutely. Did Nathan Lewis. And the thing is, that might look like a catastrophic mistake. It's not. It's put one wheel on the grass and you're off, and you are a passenger. The iRacing is incredibly accurate. You wouldn't believe, if you've never tried it before, you would not believe the ability. Oh, it was one of the Porsches off Jesse Jones, but you wouldn't believe the accuracy of this simulator. The only thing is, it simulates grass very well, but it's like it's permanently wet, the grass. It doesn't simulate dry grass very well.
Yeah, absolutely. For people wondering, yes, there are prizes on offer here, as we've got a CUDA E-Mode Sport car. Chris Byram facing the wrong way. The Mercedes.
Good job, Chris.
Able to get back going again. And, well, Joel Evans has just set the fastest lap now as Kenneth Branson in the RSR by G Performance car. Oh, there's one of the Pure Sims cars, but it was Turnbull, I feel, or Harrod, one of the two,
Turnbull,
was getting a bit loose. But Ross McFarlane now, he is somebody who's won championships, and he's also fought hard for championships as well. He is somebody who will want to try and get that championship once again for him, but he's having to do it the hard way, and he didn't have the best of times in race 1. Race 2 is already in 13th place, where he started, I must point out, whereas Josh Thompson has just worked his way past him. Kei Kashuba up 10th places, up into 8th. So he's on the move. Phil Dennis and Kenneth Branson as well. So they're all working their way through the field here, Peter.
Yeah, that they are. Brilliant stuff from Kei Kashuba in the BMW, the BS competition car, for the 38-year-old from Mittenwalde in Germany. And I believe that Kei Kashuba is actually a powerboat racing enthusiast. Now, I don't know if that's from a spectating point of view or a taking part. Hopefully it's taking part. That'd be very cool. Hopefully we'll get the chance to ask him.
Well, I know somebody who has been involved in the fishing drivers out of boats in powerboat racing. I know somebody who's been involved in the rescue of riders and drivers in that. Pilots, I suppose they would be actually in that. But, well, we're seeing the drivers out here right now. Lee Berridge in that Boosted Motorsport car, working his way through. He's one of your AM drivers. In fact, he's your second place AM driver, because Tony Draper, what a performance. Yeah, he started up near the front of the field, but he's still in second place and putting on a good showing for him. So Lee Berridge is trying his best to hang on to as many places as possible to not lose out to Draper here.
Man on the move, Phil Dennis up to 6th place. He was unlucky in race 1, a little bit of contact with Ash Sutton, and that we did recover back to 7th place. So he would have started, where did he start, with 13th place up to 6th already, and he has the fastest lap of the race so far, only 3.6 seconds up to the leader of Elias Sepinen. And yeah, Phil Dennis, when he gets in his groove, oh my word, he can be unbeatable in some circumstances.
He certainly is rapid. I've commentated on him a few times in Rallycross as well, for one place that I've commentated on him, but he is certainly well versed in the asphalt racing and road racing, and he's putting the move on Mike Horder down into Duan Corner, turn number 1. There's a car coming out of pit road, does well to stay out the way, and that's Dennis moving up another position up into 5th place. He's wanting a race win here, Peter. He's got the bit between his teeth.
Indeed, yeah, Phil Dennis in it. You can tell he's just, wanting to prove a point after maybe just being held back a touch in race 1, and he's in the groove now and looking to make short work of Chris van den Esse here in the Evo SR Porsche, going for actually what is a really clever move around the out. It doesn't look like the right way when you think, why are you going around the outside of such a tight hairpin at Honda? But what it does is it gives you the inside for Siberia, the run to Siberia, and that didn't quite pull off that time, but you often see drivers going for the outside round the hairpin and then going for the switchback on the other way. Dennis, he's not wasting any time, is he? Wow, that's a big move there to go through on the entry up to Lukey Heights, but he gets it done. Yeah, brilliant stuff from Phil Dennis. He looks like he's got four-wheel drive. He does. He's flying.
Lukey Heights is not usually an overtaking spot, and if you believe some people in motorsport, there are certain corners that you're not allowed to overtake at. Anyway, as we're going through the final corner here, Van den Esse did a very good job of holding him back as long as he did, and it was because of Mike Horder that we're on board with now down at the hairpin that just caused Dennis just to think twice at the hairpin. On that previous lap, you can see Keiko Schube in that rear view, I say mirror, it's a monitor, and looking to the inside, but Horder, I mean, he's a Pro-Am driver, but every position, as we mentioned at the end of last race, every position matters in their championship as well.
I just want to look inside the Horder's garage. Well, I imagine it must be stock full of stuff.
I thought I'd got away from the terrible puns, but unfortunately Peter's turned up. But anyway,
can you imagine what it's like when Chad Draycott and I commentate together? It's chaos. It's an endless stream of terrible jokes.
And that's the reason why I don't work with both of you at the same time. But anyway, as we work up, Kenneth Gold-Branson is doing good. Yeah, sorry, we've
thank you very much to Pega Mixel, who has confirmed that Keiko Schube does in fact race powerboats. So how cool is that? We've got a real world powerboat racer in the field.
Oh, there you go. You see, I don't know what you could really transfer between powerboat racing and this.
You're like driving a classic 911. It's a bit floaty at the front.
Well, we are past the halfway point of the race, and it's still Elias Seppänen who's leading this race by 3.5 seconds. You see him in the distance just driving away, and it's Perry now. Tim Perry trying to make his way past Tony Draper into turn number 1. The side-by-side through the go. Can he get the move stuck? Well, Draper's keeping it there. He's doing a really good job, and look who's rocked up on the scene here. Phil Dennis, he's saying move over, I want the position. Well, he's got himself onto the podium. 3rd place for Dennis. Next target is Tony Draper.
Yeah, Phil Dennis, he's just being so clinical here, making his way through the field with such confidence. I'm so jealous of his driving, because wow, just being able to be so decisive but so safe at the same time in these reverse grid races. Do you know what, Paul? That attribute, Phil Dennis, that could make him a really strong contender for this championship.
Certainly could, but I'll tell you what, a tip of the hat to Tony Draper. He is wheeling that Mercedes. Oh, right as I say that, commentator's curse. He ends up into the grass. Can he keep it out the wall? Yes, he does, but he needs to get it stopped before he ends up coming back on at the hairpin. Oh, I was about to say he's doing a fantastic job wheeling that Mercedes so far up the field there. Oh, well, just gets it just a little bit misjudged at Lukey Heights. It's so easily done, though, at that corner.
It is indeed, and you know what? It's amazing to see so many of the Mercedes running so far up the front, because it's a big car and it doesn't necessarily want to change direction as easy. But yeah, there's been some superb driving from the Mercedes guys so far, and what a pity there for Draper. Well, 7 minutes and 50 seconds to go, and we have a BS competition 1-2. So the Zebras march on at the front. Phil Dennis, his best lap time, half a second quicker than Seppänen's best. As one of the team Mads off. Who is it? I think is it Freitas?
Michael Blake.
Good spot. Goodness. But yes, I mean, Phil Dennis has got a bit of an edge on his teammate in the lead, but I don't think it'll be enough to catch him up.
And again, it's just running wide there through turn 2, Southern Loop. And again, it just catches you out. You get off into the marbles there, and well, you're sailing off. And with that 911 with the engine right slung up past the rear wheels. Once the back end goes on that, Peter, it just acts like a pendulum, doesn't it?
Yeah, 911 crashes are unique. That is for sure. You just feel the engine start to move. Well, not the whole engine, but you feel the weight transfer and the momentum of the engine right round the back. It has huge advantages, particularly in off of slow corners. The traction, there is just nothing. There is no substitute for a Porsche 911.
Now, Kenneth Branson is in pits. He's retired, so he's been in there a little while, I can tell you. So he's had an issue out there, so that's going to be a nightmare for him. So we have got drama. Here we get to see Kenneth Branson then. And again, that's into turn 1. That's not really a usual one. And now he's trying to think, I need to get that back facing the right way. Well, where am I? I'm in the middle of nowhere.
I'm in Australia.
To take a turn. Yeah, I'm on an island off the coast of Melbourne. That's where I am right now. But we've got moves being made by Ross McFarlane. There's also Josh Thompson making his
wide.
way.
Thompson very wide.
Yeah, but he'll get the run out the corner. Look at that run. He gets it into the dirt as well. Not the worst thing in the world if you do that out of Siberia. But as you're heading through now, inside for Van der Ness, he's holding his own. Josh Thompson's having to do it the hard way. And right behind them, Oscar Koper as well in the RSR by G Performance car. Look, going through now, Matt Turnbull right with them as well. Look at this big pack of cars there, and you make one mistake there, and here we go, Mike Horder trying to make the move, but he's going to be compromised through this final corner.
And it is very busy here. Look at this, cars front and rear. And Ross McFarlane has got his mirrors full of David Baker's Lamborghini Huracan. And Baker's done a good job, actually, I have to say. Really unlucky in that opening lap to get involved in an incident not of his own making. Just took his momentum a little bit, lost him some track position, but he's been patient. He's what did we talk about earlier? Just making, bad things will happen in a season as long as this, but it's making the most out of every situation and not letting it compound into something much, much worse. Phil Dennis is closing the gap down at the front, 3.5 seconds or so now between Seppinen, his teammate, and Phil Dennis in second. But I think he's just going to run out of time.
Mike Horder just running wide then through Siberia. That's going to drop him down a couple of positions because Ross McFarlane and also Matt Turnbull make their way past there. Turnbull, of course, who finished third place in the championship last season. He'll be looking to try and make a good go of it this season, but the level of competition has just stepped up this season. It's great to see so many top drivers, and to be fair, we're focused so much on those BS competition drivers and also people like Josh Thompson, Phil Dennis, but you can't forget the Pro-Ams and the AMs are holding their own against some of these drivers as well.
Absolutely, I was just going to mention that. Good point. Lee Berridge in 14th place in the 54 car, leading the way in AM and 14th overall as well. And of course the 23 machine of Tony Draper. I mean, that would have been a Cinderella story. Just so agonising, that mistake. It could have been an overall podium perhaps, or at least a top 5 for an AM driver at this level would be amazing.
Well, even I mean, you look at it, Tim Perry, a Pro-Am driver, he's just lost a position to Keiko Shube into 4th place. We've got battling for Van der Ness is involved in this. Mike Horder, David Baker trying to work his way around the outside of Horder. And these drivers, now Horder and Van der Ness in front of Baker are both Pro-Am drivers, so they're fighting it out for position. You've got David Baker, then there's Joel Evans right behind him, and Pete Harrod. Shai Peters is known, trying to work his way through as well. Not quite able to make any moves yet, but still, time is running out. We're in 2.5 minutes remaining, and Ash Sutton. Well, that's what happens when you try braking with wheels on the grass.
Yes, not the grippiest surface as well. So certainly been, as always with Ash Sutton, it's always exciting to watch Ash. There's never a dull moment when he's at the wheel of a racing car, that is for certain. Of course, he'll be off the open park this weekend to continue his assault on a third British Touring Car Championship. At the moment, it's going pretty well for him.
Well, he's not having an assault on the second race because he's actually come down to pit road. So I think he's pretty much done for this race. It's still Horder and Van der Ness who are holding up this queue of cars behind them. Here's Baker trying to make the move on Horder, but has to get out of it slightly because Horder's back end, it just slipped out slightly. Looked like there was going to be contact. Baker alongside. Horder, last of the late breakers. Well, a bit too late. Makes contact, and Baker once again. Oh my goodness. He just can't. Everybody seems to have an attraction to the front of his car. It must be Craig Williams' face.
Yeah, they just want to get really up close to see Craig Williams' face. I think that must be it. Poor old David Baker. He's just had, like you say, it's magnetic. He's just had incidents come to him. And he's just been in the wrong place at the wrong time. And that is a big loss of points for David Baker, now down in 18th place. Let's have another look at it. It just all happens around him. Nothing. What could he have? I cannot think of anything he could have done there to avoid that. And then gets tangled up with
Van der Ness, yeah.
Van der Ness.
It was Mike Horder who kicked that all off with trying to outbrake Baker into the hairpin, and he got his braking a little bit too wrong and, well, tagged the back end of Van der Ness, and Baker's the innocent party and all of that gets collected. He's dropped down to 18th place. He was in 10th place before that happened, so not the best of races for him. Now, we're looking further up the field. Here's Tim Perry. He's going door to door with Josh Thompson. So Thompson's trying to get that outside line around the hairpin. We are on the final lap here, by the way. This is just one more lap of this race because time has expired here. So Elias Seppänen, all he's got to do is keep it on the grey stuff and he will be on for a race victory. But, well, Josh Thompson working his way through. They're overtaking some back markers as well. But it's been a great race for Elias Seppänen. We see him on the right-hand side of your picture here. He's working his way through the final corners, and he's done a lights-to-flag victory here. He was on pole position, yes, courtesy of the reverse grid draw, but you've got to be in it to win it. And my goodness, has he done a fantastic job for BS Competition. Elias Seppänen across the line takes victory in the second race of the evening here in the World GT Championship. Phil Dennis, what a drive, 12 positions gained up into second place, with Kei Koshube up 15 positions as well, up into third. Josh Thompson another 15 positions gained in fourth place. Tim Perry, what a drive for him in the Pro-Am category. 5th place overall in the standings. Your top amateur driver, Lee Berridge, up in 11th place. Battles going on to the line, and I think we've got a car out of fuel here. James Whitehouse is struggling to make it to the end here, Peter.
Put the clutch in. Put the clutch in and coast down the hill. At least it's downhill, down to the flag. And yeah, I think that's what he's done actually. It's completely dead, yeah, out of fuel. But he'll make it though, as well, Will Whitehouse.
That last bit is uphill, but he makes it across the line, but it does mean that he finishes in 38th overall here, so not the best of second races. Well, Bradley Hull said he ran out of fuel around the last corner in race number 1. There's a second one in James Whitehouse, but one driver who didn't run out of fuel right until the slowdown lap, of course. Maybe he's just waiting for his teammate. That's Elias Seppänen and Phil Dennis working their way through, and they take first and second place here in the second race of the evening of the World GT Championship. Kei Koshube to make it a BS Competition 1-3, with Phil Dennis as well partly representing BS Competition in second place. Josh Thompson makes it a 4th place for those two outfits, with Tim Perry, the top Pro-Am driver for 3 Spires Motorsport, in 5th place. 2 Pure Sims Esports drivers, Matthew Turnbull and Ross McFarlane, finished 6th and 7th place, with Oscar Cooper in 8th place, Pete Harrod 9th, and the 2nd place of the Pro-Am drivers, Mike Horder, rounding out the top 10. 11th place for Lee Berridge, the top amateur driver of the race here. Great result for Lee in that Boosted Motorsport car. Joel Evans in 12th ahead of Tony Draper, the second of the amateur drivers, in 13th. Benjamin Gregory 14th, a better result than race 1, with Michael Avdoka 15th, managing to keep on his wheels this race time. And then Simon Fields 16th, Adam Watson 17th. David Baker getting caught up in 2 other people's accidents in that race has cost him dearly, down in 18th, with Alex Neller 19th, and Max Wolf rounding out the top 20. Chris van der Nest, then, he was one of those innocent party involved in that incident with Baker at the end, in 21st, with Andy Archer 22nd. Matt Woodhouse and Miguel Freitas 23rd and 24th, ahead of Adam Hedgecock and Andy Shield. Billy Fletcher, Chris Wood, Jesse Jones and Adam Gladden round out the top 30. 31st for Ryan Hamilton, with Michael Blake, who had the spin, in 32nd. Morgan Butler, who actually ended up in the wall before he'd even reached the line at lap 1. He's finished in 33rd for car 33. Jason Dilworth and Lars van Rijn, with Nicholas Salaputis, Simon Underhill, James Whitehouse, Simon Neller and Paul Webster round out the top 40. Bradley Hulse for year 1, with Lewis Archer, Brian Lyons, Toby Ward, Tom Stevens, Ash Sutton, who did not finish the race, in 46th. Kenneth Cole-Branson, again in the fun, who did not finish in 47th. Chris Byram, JB Masida and Nathan Lewis in 50th. And the last one, Ross Nicholson for Sim Stickers, down there in 51st place. Well, it's time once again here, Peter. We've got the spinning wheels, so we'll let Hugo do his thing. And we want a nice big number, don't we, Peter?
Well, we do. I wonder how this is going to mix up, actually, because this could have many different... Oh, no, nearly. 34, my favourite number. Oh.
No, it's going to be 21. That's again, it's the second lowest number that we can have, and it's Chris van der Ness, who finds himself on the front row of the grid once again. Although this time he's in pole position rather than second place. Max Wolf, an amateur driver, in second place on the grid. Alex Neller, and this is a big one, David Baker on row number 2. He needs a good race this final, third and final race here today.
Yeah, he's got to make the most of that opportunity, does David Baker. He was obviously superb in race 1, and to be honest, just horrifically unlucky in race 2. It's all there was to it, and yeah, this is a prime opportunity for David Baker to capitalise on that and to make up for lost ground in race 2. And if he can do that, he'll come out of this opening round with a strong championship position.
Certainly will. So we'll be able to so we can do this. So yeah, we'll have a look at what's coming through in race number 3 in just a moment's time. But while the admin team do get themselves set up for this one. But yes, Peter, that again, it's quite rare to get two low numbers in the reverse grid draw, and to get that so quickly in this races here. Those top drivers who worked their way through, Phil Dennis and also Keiko Schube, Josh Thompson as well, they'll be thanking their lucky stars that for both races we've had a low number.
Yeah, of course, that really plays into advantage of the quicker drivers, doesn't it, having those low numbers? But it's not going to be like that all season. I'm looking forward for when we're going to see the guys making it through from 50th position and places like that. I mean, I suspect we might well see some heroic drives over the season of drivers who come all the way from the back to the front. Will we see a last to first? That would be cool.
Well, we only got one full reverse grid last season. It is quite a low percentage to get it, but we did get one full reverse grid last season, and as you can imagine, it was absolutely chaotic, was that race, but it was certainly entertaining, if nothing else. But these drivers, a lot of these drivers that have been running in this series for season after season after season, who've supported this championship pretty much since season 1, they're used to this. They know what the run is and how to work that reverse grid draw. Some of these newer drivers that are coming into this championship for the first time this season, they're having to learn how to work that. There's not too many series where you get a completely random reverse grid. You usually, if you see an inverted grid, it's usually like a top 8 or a top 10, isn't it? So a few of these drivers that are new to the series are having to learn themselves some new skills.
Yeah, and it is a skill for sure. I mean, that's something that, again, well, Ash Sutton in the British Touring Car Championship, that's been a key part of his success over the last couple year or two with his Infinity, is that he's been, when of course the reverse grid for race 3 in British touring cars, I think they reverse the top 12 and they pick a ball out of the bag, and he really made the most of the results in the reverse grid races. I think that was the difference. So yeah, it is a particular skill. It does take developing, but some of the names, it's amazing that a lot of the names in this championship are very familiar from the touring car world in virtual motorsport. And again, when in that world in virtual motorsport, the reverse grid skills are very important. And sometimes, as we saw with David Baker there, can be luck of the draw. Like, he had 2 accidents basically, as you said, magnetised themselves to him.
Absolutely. Of course, David Baker, he did win a British Sim Racers Touring Car Championship quite a few years ago. I know that because that's when he was my teammate. So I always like to bring that up because
were you the Valtteri Bottas?
No, I was the George Russell at the back of the grid, but actually, I'm not that talented. At least he beats his teammate. Yeah, that's true. But certainly, a lot of these drivers know what it takes to win a championship. David is somebody who's a very consistent driver. He will just hit his marks, hit his numbers. He's a quick driver. He's a competitor. Everybody out there is a competitor, because if you're not, you don't deserve a place on the grid. But David, he is somebody who is quite a consistent driver, who will do that almost Colin Turkington approach of just be methodical, get the points in the bag, and work your way to a championship.
And isn't it? I'd love to have that skill. It's interesting. We see it a lot where you think, we can explain it so eloquently about how you just that's the approach you should have, and just nice and steady. But that requires you to be hit every braking point, hit every apex. Don't let the car get away from you. Don't overdrive. These are things that get most of us. But it's going to be fascinating to see how this third race shakes out. And what can Phil Dennis do? Because for me, he was driver of race 2 for certain. Fastest lap, made his way through to second place. We'll watch out for the American, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got race number 3 is going to be coming up shortly. We've got about 6.5 minutes before the third and final race of the evening. You are watching the World GT Championship. I've just lost my timing screen. There we go. I've got it back now. You are watching the World GT Championship here, the opening round of Season 10 of this championship. I myself competed in this championship in the early days, back in Season 2 through to 5, I think it was. We were Season 5 Pro-Am Team Champion. So it's worth pointing out, with this championship, there are prizes on offer in this series. And I've just got the prizes up here on screen. 3M have done a fantastic deal with a fantastic team up with the championship here. The first place pro driver gets a custom S19 boots or Sensor 16 gloves with the team logo on it. Now, I've seen the boots because Marina Sirica, who won it in Season 8, he got the boots and they look absolutely magnificent. I will say I'm jealous of custom boots. I mean, that's worth what, 400 and some quid, something like that. Yeah, more. The first place Pro-Am driver and the first place Am driver get the Sensor 16 gloves with the team logo on. So again, custom gloves with your team logo on as well. You get a £40 store credit if you win the Enduro Cup, which is just for those drivers, just for the endurance event. So the 4 rounds go towards the Endurance Cup. That was introduced last season, and it actually really brought in it really brought the Pro-Am and Am drivers in with those pro drivers, and it was actually won by a Pro-Am driver last season. So the Enduro Cup is another prize that you can win in this championship. It's a great series for getting prizes all the way through first through third for all 3 of the categories and the Enduro Cup.
it's a good job that it goes to the overall champion, the pair of custom boots, because if you're going to have custom boots, you've got to be good.
Yeah.
You've got to be good. We see, it's quite funny. I was up at Knockhill at my local circuit at the weekend, and all the fastest drivers have the tattiest suits. Apart from those wearing 3M, of course. That's the exception to the rule. But those who have got, you can just see they've got this pristine, and usually white boots, pristine white boots in a fancy suit, and they've got I won't say the car because that'll give away who it is, and it'll be like the car's got big wings on it and loads of power, and then there's like a little guy in a tatty suit in a Renault Clio. He's got it up on two wheels going through toughest. Brilliant. But if you're going to have custom boots, you've got to be good. I met Ryan DL out at the Daytona 24-hour, and he's got little Scotland flags on his, and that gives him 3-4 tenths a lap anyway.
Well, I'd have to get RaceSpot logos on if I got custom boots, because we know that a RaceSpot logo gives you at least 0.2 of a second per lap. But I have to say that I would be the person with all the gear and no idea. I think that would be me. I wouldn't be the one in the tatty stuff. Although I am a Yorkshireman, so I am careful with my money, so I would wait for a deal.
Well, I'm sure the guys and girls at 3M will give you a deal. I think they should make 3M should make a Paul Smith original Super Aguri shirt. You're not going to let this go, are you? Never. This is for those wondering why we keep mentioning Super Aguri. We were all raising money for charity last week for the Eiffel flood fund, and everyone was putting in all kinds of stuff in terms of personal sacrifices, career sacrifices. Paul, all we did was ask him to give up a little bit of memorabilia, but no, he's hanging on to it.
No, too right. First of all, if you'd have asked politely, I might have considered it. But the fact that you just went and flat out just offered it to the public,
I assumed you'd be nice enough, though. I knew I didn't even need to ask you because you're such a nice man, Paul.
But anyway, the drivers are out there in practice. I've got the rest of the season of this to look forward to. But yeah, the drivers are out there in practice. Now, the conditions, I can tell you, are pretty similar to the second race. Partly cloudy skies, 40.6 degrees Celsius track temperature. So the track temperature is the same as last race. Well, it says 41 on there, but it's 40.6 it says on my readout. But these drivers, that will be pushing it towards the end of the race. They will be starting to feel the effect on these tyres, because they don't set these cars up like they would an endurance race for them to be nice and easy on the tyres. It's a 20-minute race. You want to use and abuse those tyres.
That you do, but I think that's where the preparation comes in handy. A lot of people say, why do you have teams in sim racing? Because, a lot of the time the teams are gathered together, a group of friends, or then it gets up to the higher level, professional level. But where the advantage comes in with the teamwork is that collective preparation and testing. And I think that's what the teams will have been endlessly preparing, because with this sort of high track temperature, understanding what the car is going to do over that 20-minute race is very, very important. And you want the tyre to use as much of the tyre as you can over that 20-minute race. Exactly like you said, you don't want to go in there with a setup for an hour, because you'll not get the best out of the tyre. Absolutely, yeah. And that opening lap as well, when the field is the most bunched up, cold tyres as well, you want to get them tyres up to a temperature as quickly as possible to have that advantage over your competitors. The problem is that everybody else will have that same approach as well, so those drivers really are going to be pushing all the way through this race. We are at the end of the little warm-up session here, but we're getting set for the final race of the evening of the opening round of Season 10 of the World GT Championship from Phillip Island. Hope you've been enjoying this one. Paul Smith and Peter McKay on the commentary here. We'll be getting set for the final race of the evening. So, pole position out there will be Chris van der Ness, front row of the grid. Alongside him is Max Wolf, both Evo SR drivers.
that could help them at the start there, working together. Alex Neller for the boosted but parental guidance team in third place. Alongside him is David Baker. He wants a big race. He needs to get to the front of this race and try and pull away when he's got the opportunity to. Adam Watson and Simon Field round out row number 3. Row 4 then is Michael Evdoka with Ben Gregory. Row 5 with Tony Draper and Joel Evans. Row 6, Lee Berridge and Mike Horder. Row 7 then shared by Pete Harron and Oscar Cooper, with Ross McFarlane and Matthew Turnbull there in 15th and 16th place. Row number 8 for Tim Perry and Josh Thompson. Row 9, Kake Shube and Phil Dennis, with race 2 winner Elias Sepinen starting on row 11. Andy Archer alongside him for Century Sim Esports. Matt Woodhouse and Miguel Freitas then 23rd and 24th, with Adam Hedgecock and Andy Shield next row. Billy Fletcher and Chris Wood with the 15th row shared between Jesse Jones and Adam Gladden. 31st is Ryan Hamilton with Michael Blake. Row 17, Morgan Butler and Jason Dilworth, with Lars Van Rijn and Nicholas Salaputis. Row 18, row 19 is Simon Underhill and James Whitehouse. Row 20, Simon Neller and Paul Webster. Bradley Hulse and Lewis Archer on row 21. Row 22 for Brian Loynes and Toby Ward. Tom Stevens and Ashley Sutton on row number 23. Kenneth Branson, Chris Byram. These were all drivers who did not finish race number 2. JB Messina, Nathan Lewis and Ross Nicholson round out the full reverse grid. It's not a full reverse grid, but it's the full grid there that we get to see. But it's the 2 Evo SR cars up at the front of your field here. And Peter, they need to work together to try and basically form a roadblock there.
That they do, an Evo SR roadblock of Porsches there indeed, because David Baker, he's going to be the man coming through and wanting to get through in a hurry. We saw him gas it up really early on in race 2, and our pole sitter in race in race 1, my apologies, and our pole sitter in race 2 doing the same. So David Baker won't have that opportunity now in his third race, but you can be sure with the pace behind that Lamborghini, the pole sitter, don't forget, I think he's the man to watch in this race.
Well, don't write out Alex Neller either. I think we're kind of sort of putting him to one side there, but don't write him out of this one. He has won races previously in this championship, so he knows how to go about doing that. But the 2 Evo SR cars, Chris van der Ness and Max Wolf at the head of the field. They've backed up the pack here. They're letting the pace car get ahead and down pit road so they can both fire it out of the final corner. And these two, they're waiting longer. They're holding this pack. Now they're going to go there. And it is Van der Ness who gets the hammer down ahead of Max Wolf, his teammate. The green flag will be waved for one final time this evening in the World GT Championship. Across the line, they all come. This big gaggle of cars heading down towards Doohan Corner for the first time in this race. And it is the 2 Evo SR cars at the head of your field, and Alex Neller has kept on to his third place. David Baker fourth with Adam Watson. Ben Gregory moving forward at the start of this one out of turn 2. Can they all manage to head on through fine and dandy? Yes, they do. Nice and clean so far. We've got an instant further down for Simon Underhill, but we're keeping going. We're keeping green here into the hairpin for the first time.
Very nice and neat and tidy for the drivers there. I mean, it's not easy in the opening sector here at Phillip Island with so many cars, but brilliant respect from all involved, and just shows you the depth and quality of the field here, as well as already David Baker having a look at the Evo SR stronghold at the front, trying to make his way through. In fact, on Alex Neller actually, as the 81 Porsche 911 of Max Wolf dropping back a little bit. Dutchman in a little bit of a steady start as one of the 3 Spires car, Ben Gregory, getting in there as well.
Yeah, that was a certain lunge down into the hairpin there. It is a move that you can make as they head on through the final corner across the line. And Alex Neller has set his sights on Chris van der Ness. Up at the front, there's an accident further back, and that's Elias Sepinen. That's your race 2 winner, has ended up in the wall.
and that was a hard hit into the wall as well, and it's full concrete as well, so you'll have a lot of damage. I would imagine Will Elias Sepinen may well have bent the steering. That's not what you need round here at Phillip Island. So Elias Sepinen, race 2 winner, but race 1 and race 3 have not gone to plan, Paul.
Certainly not. He's having to work his way through, but he'll be really fighting the damage to that car. He's certainly got a lot of pace still. He's keeping with the Nomad racing car, and into the hairpin they go. Everybody's checking up into the hairpin there. So Sepinen, well, he's down in what, 35th place, 34th place. He's got Ryan Hamilton alongside him there. And well, off into Siberia, into the gravel trap. There was an incident with a couple others in front of him as well, and he's taken the tow back to the pits. That's him. That's his race done.
That is a pity. That looked like Sepinen there just got a bit of bargy. Andy Archer, whoa, spin and broadside across the road. Oh dear, and it sets off quite a chain reaction, and Elias Sepinen unfortunately coming off quite badly from that one. But Van den Esse leads for now, but Alex Neller's going to go for the lead in the Lamborghini, with kicking up dust behind. The David Baker's now got the draft of Van den Esse, but tell you what, that Porsche's got some boogie down the straight.
It certainly has, but it's not Alex Neller round the outside into turn 2. You don't normally see that here. You've got to be careful on the cut back there. And, well, he's going to hold on to the position then. Well, Van den Esse is managing to hold on, but he's got the inside line for this corner. The problem is the next corner, the right-hander on the inside is Neller, and Neller's going to finally make it done, or is he? Because now Van den Esse has got the inside for Siberia. This is tremendous, and this is for the race lead.
Contact from David Baker to the back of, I think it was Neller, his fellow Lamborghini driver, so Baker getting, he might well have a bit of damage there. Likewise will Neller, but just took the wind out of the sails of David Baker there for a second. So we've got a proper battle on at the front here. Lamborghini from Porsche, from Lamborghini, and well, what making up most of the opening, most of the top 10 actually, Porsches and Lamborghinis. Two completely different machines in terms of setup, but tell you what, that Lamborghini, that's the car I would like to have around here at Phillip Island. It can carry so much corner speed. It's got a lovely balance.
And Alex Neller's trying to break away at the front as well, and he's doing a good job of it. Baker, if David Baker wants to challenge Alex Neller, he needs to find a way past Chris Van den Esse and find a way past sooner rather than later. He can. He's not the most aggressive of drivers as David, but maybe he needs to just take one of those Ashley Sutton pills and pull out some brave moves through the field here. He's certainly giving it a go because he's got pressure from behind. He's got Gregory, he's got Watson, he's got Evdoka behind. In fact, Evdoka's making moves. Baker gone very deep into the hairpin, and that could work out nicely for him. Look at that. Whoa. Down the inside into Siberia, and that's going to be second place for David Baker.
Well, if he can't get any Ash Sutton Brave pills, it maybe 3M produce some Nomex fireproof Brave pants, possibly.
You never know. But, well, Van den Esse won't give this one up without fighting. There's a snap. Oh, snap of oversteer at the worst possible time into Lukey Heights. Well held by Chris, but also well avoided by those that were coming through as well, because it's not easy to change your line at such a high-speed corner.
I tell you what, when you get a twitch like that, you have got to be on top of it. And Van den Esse, wow, he's kept himself in the fight. Yes, he's lost a couple of positions, but that could have been a race-ending accident there. But now where's he down to? 10th position at the moment as Alex Neller sets the fastest lap of the race. So you called it, Paul. Have to say, slipped past me. Alex Neller, fastest lap of the race, and he's out front for Three Spires Motorsport. Keiki Shube, the powerboat racer. I think we might need a swear jar for that one. I feel like we're going to say that a lot. It's about more when Jack Burnicle calls Lee Jackson the Lincolnshire plumber, you could put £1 in the jar. Well, I think Keiki Shube, the powerboat racer, is going to be our one, I think. But anyway, he's on the move. He's got his teammate Phil Dennis right in beside him there, who goes to the outside line.
Oh, and it's made it work as well. Look at that launch off of the corner, and Koshube now is trying to fight back down the inside of Siberia. The two of them, the two teammates, side by side, trying to fight it out, but Dennis able to get one over Koshube then as they go through towards Lukey Heights once again. By the way, your current fastest lap holder now is actually two-time British Touring Car champion Ash Sutton. I think we need a swear jar for that as well here in this championship. Down the inside, Koshube is trying to go. There's a Century Sim Racing car. Mercedes right in his way there, so can't work his way through at the moment as, well, Dennis down the inside, trying to get the place from Tony Draper. Not working out, but this is a chance now for Koshube.
That it is. Yeah, let's see what Kai Koshube can do now as David Baker takes the fastest lap of the race. 127.7 for the Craig setup shop driver. 1.2 seconds separates Alex Naylor and David Baker. Wow, this is going to be a showdown to the... Oh, no, it's not. Oh, that's the second commentator's curse of the day as Baker's tumbling down the order. There he is on the left-hand side.
Yeah, so something's happened to Baker through the turn 2, the southern loop, and that's dropping him way down the order, down to 20th place. Second to 20th in one corner. I think we need to stop talking about David in this series.
If you're going to say something nice about him, you have to be wearing a face mask to avoid the commentator's curse.
Draper just got a little bit of a rub, able to hold on to it, but he does lose a couple of positions. So Koshube got a little bit impatient there, stuck the nose in when Draper was coming down, but well held by Draper to hold on to that one. 11.5 minutes remaining in this race. It is Alex Neller, Michael Avdoka and Adam Watson at the front of your field. They're still battling away. Chris Wood has gone off in the background of the foreground of that shot. And was that Koshube?
Yes. It is. Turned it into a Mad Max machine.
Oh, there's a Craig setup shop car off in the background as well. Wow. Alex Neller, fastest lap of the race, but right now it's going from bad to worse for Koshube. This is enough the car off.
Well, Koshube, I think, just got completely wiped out with Chris Wood heading onto the grass at Lukey Heights and had nowhere to go. So here we go. I think he's about to get the fright of his life. He's got Josh Thompson right behind, ready.
Oh!
Ouch.
RKO out of nowhere.
Oh my. What can you do? Absolutely nothing.
There is absolutely nothing you can do. You're absolutely right. By the way, David Baker has had a
tidal wave of Porsche.
David Baker has had yet more issues out there, and I can tell you it's at turn 2 once again, so something is not going right for David Baker. We'll have a look at Chris Wood then. He's on the grass, he's on the brakes, there's nothing that he can do there. Wow. Innocent party and all of that, Kei Koshube.
The only saving grace is that he was quite close to pit lane and could come in and get the fast repair and can get some sort of points, but I mean, I'm clutching at straws slightly. Kei Koshube will be, he'll be really annoyed about that. I mean, just bad fortune. And David, now is this the second mistake of David Burker? Yes, trying to mount the banking in his Lamborghini.
It's not worked out the second and third race. He had a brilliant opening race of the evening, did David, to get the win in race number 1, but it's just gone from bad to worse for him. Ross McFarlane, by the way, fastest lap of the race. I do feel that, that's a bit rude. That was Ben Gregory that got knocked off the track by Evans. So Gregory, well, he's found the tyre barrier, but he's going to be able to keep going in all of this, but he's dropping down the order. But that was a little bit rude there from Joel Evans.
Yeah, I think there might be some words about that exchanged later on. Ross McFarlane, the Scotsman, in the number 1 car, fastest lap of the race. So lots of quick laps getting put in this mid part of the race, despite the very high track temperatures. So the tyres are obviously holding up well. So what can McFarlane do? It's been, I won't say a quiet meeting, but it's not been right up the sharp end in any of the races, but he's been, like we said, collecting the points bit by bit, and this could be a podium for the Scotsman.
Well, now that we've put the commentator's curse on him, is there anyone else that we could put the commentator's curse on?
I was touching wood. I was taking Craig King's advice to knock on wood. I was.
Well, yeah, certainly. I know the Scotsmen always look out for each other, don't they? In a series like this, and McFarlane, he is a talented driver. He won last season, so he's got plenty on his plate. Bradley Hulser's car looks like it's been through about 10 rounds with Tyson out there with the shape that Porsche is in, the Year 1 racing car, but he's still battling away.
Disco.
My goodness. But Mike Horder that we're on board with then getting overtaken by David Baker, or recovering David Baker. The Cuda E-Motorsports car was almost out of control through the final corner. Speaking of in control though, this is a battle for third place. It's Adam Watson and Ross McFarlane, and McFarlane has got the upper hand now heading in towards Siberia. What can he do down the inside? Well, Watson's not one to give up. He will fight all the way. And that Team Mad driver, new to the team this season, out there working hard. And Joel Evans, well, he's got the prime seat here, hasn't he, Peter?
That he does, yeah. He's got the popcorn out at the moment, and is McFarlane going to be able to hang on to this one? The Porsche is very good on the brakes, and McFarlane just twitches across there as he applied the brake, and I think that maybe made Watson just take a think, maybe I'll just back out of this one and live to fight another day, but can also get into the draft now. You get a good draft down the start-finish straight, down the Gardner Straight here at Phillip Island, named after Wayne Gardner, the 1987 motorcycle Grand Prix champion, won here at Phillip Island in 89 and 1990 as well. And here comes
that's Evans.
Yeah.
So Evans to the inside takes the position, so that Porsche just does not seem to have the legs down the straight, and that Lamborghini certainly looks quick. Now it's Pete Harrod who's up behind Adam Watson for position, and look at that ahead. Joel Evans is already making moves on Ross McFarlane, and is actually making it ahead of Ross. Ross won't give this one up without a fight. The Pure Sims driver down the inside and holds on to the position for the time being, but this is a close battle for the final step of the podium. But all this battling here, Peter, is just allowing Michael Evdoka and Alex Neller to pull away.
What a turnaround for Michael Evdoka in second position. Had a torrid race in race one. He was inside out, round and round, upside down like Diana Ross. But now only 2.2 seconds off the leader Alex Neller and Evdoka. And I think that might be the strongest result for a Mercedes so far this evening.
Well, let's hope there's not a chain reaction for these drivers out there. And so you see, you're not the only one who can do it.
Should have a klaxon.
Ross McFarlane then to the head of that battle. Here's a replay. That's Lewis turning Ben Gregory, and well, he wants to move out the way, but the problem is there were so many cars coming up at once. He's just got to hold his brakes.
Yeah, that's all you can really do, is just make sure you're a steady object rather than a moving object. That's definitely the way forward. But back at the sharp end, McFarlane holding off. Bear in mind, McFarlane got the number one on the side of the car, and the 724 of Evans, he doesn't care a jot. He's in the Pro-Am class, and this is going to be a huge haul of points for Evans if he can hold on to this.
It certainly is. He's doing a tremendous job out there. I can tell you, by the way, that Michael Evdoka has been just a little bit quicker than Alex Neller on the last lap. It's 1.9 seconds between the two leaders. I think it's a little bit too much too late for him, but you can look at the mix of teams there. We've got the team logos there on the timing tower on the left-hand side, and you can see that mix of teams. It really is a tremendous championship. It's not just one dominant team. There's all sorts of different teams getting involved in this and mixing it with the big boys.
Absolutely, they are. Yeah, it's many that some proper pro sim racing teams, and some of the other teams getting right in about it. Now, Nathan Lewis, it's not been a good day for the driver of the number 2 car, and another big shunt there that's just coming around at the hay shed. So one to forget, but it is a long championship, a very long championship indeed, and Phillip Island, I have to say, I love Phillip Island, but it's not a circuit that every driver warms to. I think when we get to Road Atlanta next week, we might see a shuffle of the order again, Paul.
Well, we certainly will, because at Road Atlanta, a different style of track, isn't it? Much like this, very undulating, but you've got that very sort of technical first sector of the lap, and then the absolute flat-out blast of the second half of the lap that's really shows on that circuit, and you'll see how different cars handle the different parts of the track. And of course, bumps is one of those big words. Pete Harrod is dropping down the order. You can see it on the left hand side, you can see it on the right hand side of your screen as well. That's Pete. He's getting back on track, down to 17th place now for Pete. So he's down 4 positions overall in this race. That was down at Siberia. I have a funny feeling that he was helped off there.
Well, that's of course Pete Harrod, the winner of the Major Series Masters of F3 at Zolder earlier on in the year. And yep, you called it just right. Now, Phil Dennis. Phil Dennis giving Harrod a little bit of a bump there, and something you don't see Phil getting involved in argy-bargy very often, I have to say.
I will say, it only takes the slightest of contacts with these cars, especially when they're turning as well, to unsettle the car and to send them around. There's a car coming off a pit road right in with this battle. Thankfully, they keep it out of the way. So we've got the 83 up on screen right now. That is the Three Spires car as they're heading around turn 2. That's Tim Perry, who's gone off the track there, and there's somebody else off in the background as well. So Tim Perry finding it difficult out there on track, and in fact Tony Draper moves back past, and here comes Kenneth Gold-Branson now.
That was pretty heavy there from Draper, just right in front and rammed the brakes on. That's a little bit naughty, I have to say, but good that they got through clean. Now, what's happened to Mark Woodhouse in the Porsche? Oh, straight! Whoa! He's in the marshal's post. Dearie me.
Not every day that you see that happen, I'll be honest. And thankfully, we have only got virtual marshals, so we don't need to concern ourselves too much with their safety and well-being in the virtual environment, thank goodness. We are on to the final lap for the race leaders right now, Alex Neller and Michael Evdoka. Something's happened to Lewis. He's gone down the inside of the 32, which is the... oh my goodness, there was a car up and over. It's Morgan Butler once again. Well, the chairman of the Morgan Butler fan club, Chaz Draycott, will probably be watching this. He'll be absolutely gutted for Morgan out there. He's taken a tour back to the pits. But we are on the final lap here, and Alex Neller, 2.3 seconds in the lead here. I said don't write him off in this race, and he's certainly proving it.
Yeah, you called it. Oh, dear. Well, I'm sure the chairman of the Morgan Butler fan club, Chaz Draycott, will have a solemn but heartfelt message of condolence for him.
So we run through Lukey Heights for the final time here today. Well, Michael Evdoka, he started on the second row of the grid in 3rd place, had an amazing first lap of the race, found himself up at the front of the field for most of the race. And well, just one more corner and the Boosted Motorsport driver will find himself the checkered flag. It's the Boosted Parental Guidance team. And it is Alex Neller across the line once again, a race winner in the World GT Championship. Michael Evdoka in the Mercedes comes across in 2nd place with Ross McFarlane and Joel Evans close together. There was 10th of a second between the two of them across the line. Phil Dennis in 5th place ahead of Josh Thompson. The rest of your field are going to be working their way through the finish line here. We've got a battle further down your field. That's JB Maceda and Ross Nicholson. That's Team Mad versus the Sim Stickers car. And Nicholson trying to make the most of that Lamborghini power, the V10 across the line, and he just misses out by a couple of hundredths of a second.
Right at the line, a classic Phillip Island finish on the long drag. The finish line so far down the Gardner Straight. Oh, Well. Oh, now, what has happened to Ryan Hamilton? I hope not another misfueler.
Oh,
dear. Oh,
That's two teammates coming together, one out of control. Do you know what? That reminds me of the supercars accident that happened there a number of years ago when you had the T-bone incident down at the hairpin. Drivers still finishing this race here, by the way, but what a tremendous, exciting opening round of the championship. Here we are, Simon Underhill into... Oh, the Cudery mud spot car gone into the back of him. And, well, he was a passenger at that point, Peter.
That reminded me of Virgo's trick shot on Big Break. Goodness me, it was just like, if he couldn't do that again if he tried.
First of all, you showing your age by mentioning Big Break, me showing my age by recognising that reference. But here we are then, here's your final results then. And it is Alex Neller for Boosted Parental Guidance winner in Season 10 of the World GT Championship. And in second place, 2.2 seconds behind him, Michael Evdoka, with Ross McFarlane rounding out the podium in third place. A tremendous drive from Joel Evans in fourth place for Vulcan Sim Racing, your top Pro-Am driver by some margin as well, ahead of Phil Dennis and Josh Thompson. Adam Watson, seventh place in the end, ahead of Matthew Turnbull, with Oscar Cooper and Andy Shield rounding out the top 10. 11th place for Ash Sutton, a tremendous drive for him. That's a gain of 35 positions in that race for Ash. Max Wolf then, the top of your AM drivers, in 12th place ahead of Simon Field, who was the second of your Pro-Am drivers. Tony Draper then second place in AM, with Tim Perry third place in Pro-Am. Kenneth Goldbranson with Pete Harrod, Miguel Freitas, Brian Loyens and Lars Van Rijn round out the top 20. 21st for JB Maceda and Ross Nicholson right on his tail in 22nd. David Baker, the unfortunate David Baker, down in 23rd, with Paul Webster, the third place AM driver, down in 24th. Adam Hedgecock, Mike Horder, Ben Gregory with James Whitehouse, Chris Byram and Chris Van der Ness round out the top 30. Van der Ness will be disappointed with that after starting on the front row of the grid. Tom Stevens in 31st ahead of Lewis Archer, with Jesse Jones and Nathan Lewis in 33rd, 34th. Lee Berridge and Mark Woodhouse ahead of Nicholas Salaputis. Bradley Hulse in his battered Porsche. Michael Blake and Andy Archer in 40th place. 41st for Ryan Hamilton, with Simon Underhill, Adam Gladden, Billy Fletcher and Craig Schubert all one lap down. Morgan Butler 2 laps down, the rest did not finish. Simon Neller, Jason Dilworth, Chris Wood, Toby Ward and Elias Sepinen. Race 2 winner was in the wall after the first lap of this race. But we are going to be able to grab an interview, Peter, and why don't you take it away with your race winner that we see on screen right now, Alex Neller.
Alex, welcome to the RaceSpotTV commentary box. It's great to have you here. What a win. Congratulations.
Yeah, cheers. Hi, guys. You have to apologise. I'll have to apologise because I'm a little bit jittery at the moment. That was just insane.
It certainly was. I mean, tell us about it, Alex, because in the early stages, you had David Baker all over the case there as well, but you looked, well, it's interesting to hear you've got the jitters because you looked so calm under pressure there.
Yeah, I was doing my best just to keep calm under the pressure. First from David, who, as we know, is an incredibly tough competitor, and then from Mike, who, if anything, is an even tougher competitor. You know, he's someone who's come, I think, second place in the series beforehand, whereas I'm just, the little guy from Boosted who's managed to wind his way into the pro class somehow. The pressure was immense. There was a couple of points where I was dancing on the edge, going over the top of. I can't remember what it's called. Something Heights.
Lukey Heights.
That's the one. Lukey Heights. Yeah, and you have the tyre temperatures in the Lamborghini and on the dash, And the couple of times where I suddenly saw the right rear shooting up to well over 120 degrees, and I was just like, oh no. But yeah, I just managed to hold it together. I'm honestly, I know this sounds quite kind of odd, but I honestly don't know how I was able to stay in front. Traditionally, Mike has had the edge on me by a couple of tenths pretty consistently. So I don't know if he had a little bit of damage or something, or whether that was my optimum pace. But yeah, I'm genuinely a bit bemused.
Well, not a bit of it, Alex. You were really, really impressive out there at the front, putting in those fast lap times. I mean, final question. Looking forward to the season. It's a huge season with so many races, different types of races. What are you most looking forward to now with this win under your belt so early?
Well, as always, I'm most looking forward to the endurance rounds. Those are typically where I come out strongest. I've had not the wins, because I've only ever won sprint races, but I'd probably say my best drives have come during endurance rounds. So that's, and just looking forward to try and take it to the guys at the top, which, if this is anything to go by, I might even have a shot at doing, which is scary, but also incredibly exciting.
Well, it's thoroughly well deserved, Alex. You were in top-notch form today. Congratulations on the win, and good luck for the next round at Road Atlanta.
Thank you, and welcome to the series, Peter.
Thank you. Very kind indeed. Very kind indeed. So, Paul, Alex in very fine form there.
He certainly was, and put on a tremendous performance. And that's it. You get yourself to the front of the field, absolutely, but then it's been able to keep that consistency throughout the rest of the race, where he really did shine on there. We have just quickly got time for an interview with one of your drivers who was certainly working his way through the field. Josh Thompson joins us now in the commentary booth. And well, Josh, race 1, you just missed out on the win to David Baker, but then you had to work your way through the field in both race 2 and race 3. Talk us through that one.
Yeah, the race 1 was just unfortunate, really. Dave said that he didn't actually mean to go for it. He went over the crest and mistimed it. Lucky enough, I saw it coming. If I carried on turning in, that was both of us off. So, especially with how tough the competition is this season, with the BS guys being involved and stuff, like, I can't afford a DNF and a bad score. So I just like, yep, I'll take it. Take second. Is where it is. And then race 2 and race 3, yeah, it was tough around here. Overtaking looks a lot easier than it is with how the toe is and on the main straight and the back straight, but the amount of checkups there was into Lukey Heights, it's just, you have to keep your whips about you the entire time. There was a few times that I nearly got caught up in incidents, like the one where Kay got taken out by Chris coming across the track. That could have been easily me, and in race 2, same with Nathan. So, kind of got lucky for once, for my sake, for the championship. So, overall, it was pretty decent even.
Well, we'll look at the championship as a whole, because it is a long season, but it's put you in a good stead for the start of the season. It's got you on a good sort of footing here, hasn't it, for the rest of the season?
Yeah, exactly. Especially like how strong the field is. The Lamborghini around here was a little bit better, personally. Like me and Phil were saying in the race, we just couldn't match how good it was in the high speed. So to be able to grab the points we got here, for my side for drivers and also Phil for the teams, it was really good. Obviously, it was kind of nice to start the championship on a good stead, because the amount of times I've won a race or won 2 races at the start of the championship and then DNF'd, it's like, oh, whatever. So it was just nice to actually just take it one step at a time this season, because I think I've got the chance. So.
Well, we go to Road Atlanta next time then, with the 2 40-minute feature races with a mandatory pit stop in each one. What are your thoughts going into that one? Will that suit the BMW more?
I think so. It was good there in IMSA against Lamborghini, and it was good there in GT3 sprint a few weeks ago. That's when I actually picked the car. That's when I decided to go with the BMW. So looking forward to it. I think it'll be a bit tougher, because obviously it's going to the normal race format. So obviously like Kay and stuff like that will be way more equipped to it, especially Phil. It's more in their powerhouse. So have to see, but hopefully just can keep it clean and bring it home and get some good points again.
Well, Josh, thank you very much for joining us. You're always one to share your thoughts, so all the best for the rest of the season.
Thank you, guys.
there we go. Josh Thompson, who joined us. He's been a stalwart of this championship, as Josh, and it's great to see him out there. And as we mentioned, so many talented drivers coming into this season. And I will say, you pointed it out, Peter, in race 2. Phil Dennis, what a drive he had. I think drive of the race for me, though, in this final race, we didn't see it really a lot. Ashley Sutton, plus 35 positions in this final race.
And that is the sort of thing that I think only Ash Sutton can do. That is an attribute that he has in his locker that even some of the very best sim racers in the world don't have. And that, I think, you know, if you've been in the British Touring Car Championship as long as he has and been as successful as he has, he's just the only guy I think I've ever seen who can overtake with just such a plum. But obviously there's a flip side to that coin. When it goes wrong, well, we saw it can go wrong in race 1, but it shows that when Ash has got it all in the right way, he's, my word, he'd stand back.
Well, Peter, first of all, what an introduction to the championship for you. 3 20-minute sprint races for you in this one. I mean, what are your takeaways from today?
Well, I think the races themselves are incredible, but they're almost more than the sum of their parts, if you like, because you've got a story over the whole meeting. You know, every race in itself has its own story, but collectively you've got drivers that are trying to bounce back from disappointments earlier on, or drivers that are that have had a good start, but then they're like, oh, all of a sudden I'm 20th on the grid. Oh, this is different. And you're piling into turn 1 thinking, oh, this is very different, and you're just trying to survive those first opening laps. So it's been a real pleasure to watch and to see some of the very best sim racers in the world in some of the top teams, like, you know, BS Competition and, you know, Craig Serham Shop, Pure Sims. I mean, I can't name them all. It's a privilege to be involved, I must be honest.
And just very briefly then, Road Atlanta next time out, 2 40-minute races, both with a mandatory pit stop. We get an inverted grid for race number 2 as well. There you see it, what's coming up. I mean, Peter, Road Atlanta, with Petit Le Mans, we usually see drama in that race. Well, get them 2 40-minute races, they'll be knocking bells out of each other.
That they will. We're going to see some argy-bargy into turn 10A and B, that chicane that was that obviously gives so much of that is really your main overtaking opportunity at Road Atlanta. Can you imagine what the circuit was like before that chicane went in? They used to go straight on through there. It got put in 1996 when Don Penoz bought the circuit. But before that, it went straight down. In fact, that long back straight at Road Atlanta, they actually used to land private aircraft along there. The previous owners, Don and Bill Whittington, but I've got a good story about them I'll save for next week.
We'll save it for next week. But, well, that is all that we've got time for you here today on RaceSpotTV with Season 10 opener from the World GT Championship. It has been thrills and spills aplenty here in this opening round. And, well, we've got plenty more coming up for you again. Same time, RaceSpotTV next week. Make sure that you are following us on all the places. Keep up to date with everything on social media. Make sure you subscribed to the RaceSpotTV YouTube channel as well to catch all of the sim racing action that we give you here. But from everybody here at the 3M World GT Championship, from myself, Paul Smith, Peter McKay and Hugo Luis behind the scenes, it's good night.